The great spaceship Orion Academy was home to students from many planets. It floated between stars, a place where young minds learned about each other's worlds. Every species had its own way of life, but everyone was curious about one species. The humans. Humans were different, strange, but also interesting. In the middle of the biology class, an alien student named Zira raised her hand. She was from the planet Velora, where everything had a season. On Velora, males were fertile only once every 3 years. That was normal for them. But humans? Humans were strange to her. The teacher, an old robotica I named Professor Lin, looked at Zira. You have a question? Zira stood up, her blue skin glowing slightly, her voice polite but curious. Professor. I want to ask something strange about humans. The class became quiet. The other alien students turned their heads. The human. Students raised their eyebrows. Go ahead, said Professor Lin. Zira looked at the human sitting at the back, then asked, Is it true that human males are always fertile? Without a mating season? Everyone froze. The air became still. Even the ship's hum felt quieter. One human student, David, chuckled awkwardly. Yeah, that's true. Zira's eyes widened. She shook her head. But how? How can that be? On my planet, our males can only reproduce once every few years. Other species here are the same. How do humans not have a season? The aliens nodded. They found it confusing too. David smiled and scratched his head. Humans don't follow seasons for that. We read always ready, I guess. Zira blinked. She thought David was joking. But the teacher, Professor Lin, confirmed it. Indeed, Zira, humans are unique in this way. Their males are always fertile, all year round, from puberty until old age. Zira sat down slowly, her mind spinning. But that's dangerous, she whispered. On my planet, if males were always fertile, our population would explode. We would destroy our planet. David laughed softly. Maybe that's why humans are so many, but actually, it's part of how we evolved. Another alien student asked, Why did your species evolve like this? David thought for a second. Earth is unpredictable. We have storms, floods, droughts. If we waited for a perfect season, we might not survive, so nature made us ready all the time. The class murmured among themselves. This was unbelievable. Zira still looked unconvinced. But your bodies must get tired. Isn't it too much energy to stay fertile always? David shrugged. It's normal for us. We don't even think about it. Professor Lin added, There's also history. Some old records say that humans may have enhanced this trait. Zira turned her head quickly. Enhanced? What does that mean? Professor Lin's eyes blinked softly. There were old Earth experiments. Some suggest that human fertility, especially in males, was made even stronger by science during Earth's ancient wars. Zira's mouth opened slightly. She whispered, That sounds dangerous. David looked down at his desk thinking. His grandfather once told him stories of secret projects. But David thought they were just myths. The class continued, but Zira could not focus. She kept staring at David and the other humans. They looked normal. But now she wondered, how much of this is still true? Are they just naturally fertile, or something more? That night, Zira couldn't sleep. She went to the ship's data archives, a massive library filled with holograms and ancient files. She searched for human history. After hours of searching, she found a file titled Project Virility. What is this? She whispered. The file was old and partly damaged, but she could read some parts. Human males. Enhanced. Fertility. Genetic endurance. No exhaustion. Potential risk of social imbalance. Her heart raced. No exhaustion? She muttered. What kind of species? Suddenly, a warning appeared on the screen. Access restricted. Unauthorized inquiry detected. Zira jumped and quickly turned off the screen. She looked around. The library was empty, but she felt watched. She returned to her room, but her mind was burning with questions. Are human males really this powerful? What if David carries this this gene? What if he is one of them? Zira decided she had to ask David again. But carefully, because if it was true, humans were not just strange, they were dangerous. Zira couldn't stop thinking about what she had read. That strange, broken file, Project Virility, kept echoing in her mind. No exhaustion. Enhanced fertility. Social imbalance. What did that really mean? She had never seen a species like humans. Always fertile, always ready. On Valora, that was a dangerous idea. It would bring chaos to any society. What if humans are hiding something? Zira whispered to herself. The next day, Zira found David sitting alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He seemed calm, but Zira knew there was more to him than he showed. She sat beside him and looked straight into his eyes. David. I want to know the truth. David glanced at her, surprised. About what? About your ancestors. About Project Virility. David's smile faded. His face became serious. Where did you hear that? I found old files in the ship's library. They mentioned a human experiment. Something about making males stronger, always fertile, no exhaustion. David sighed and looked away. My grandfather told me stories, he said softly. He said there was once a secret experiment to make superhumans. Men who would never tire, never grow weak. Is that why human males don't have a mating season? David nodded slowly. Maybe. Nature made us fertile all year, but the experiment made it worse, or better, depending on how you see it. Zira's mind raced. This was more than curiosity. Now it was a secret hidden deep in human history. Why would your people do that? She asked. David chuckled bitterly. Because Earth was a battlefield, wars never stopped. Governments wanted soldiers who could build families fast, grow populations, and survive any climate. If a man is always fertile, he can help rebuild after any war. Zira shivered. It made sense. In a scary way. But what happened to those experiments? She asked. David shook his head. Nobody knows. Some say the program was stopped. Others say the genes stayed with some families, passed down quietly, including yours. David didn't answer, but the look in his eyes was enough. Suddenly, a cold voice echoed from behind them. You should not be discussing this. They turned to see Professor Lin standing nearby. His mechanical eyes blinked slowly. Why? Zira asked. We have the right to know. Because Project Virility is classified. For good reason, Lin said. If certain alien species learned the full truth, they would fear humans even more. Zira stood up. But why? Fear them? Humans don't even use this power anymore. Lin paused. Because it is still inside them, dormant, but if triggered, a human male with that gene could become uncontrollable. His fertility, his strength, his desire, it would all awaken, and no one knows how to stop it. Zira felt cold inside. What would happen if that gene activated? She asked quietly. Lin stared at David. The human male would enter a fertility surge. His body would produce energy, pheromones, strength beyond normal limits. Any alien species near him could be affected. Affected how? Zira whispered. Attracted, Lin replied. Overwhelmed. Some species may feel a biological pull they can't resist. David looked horrified. I didn't ask for this, he said. I know, Lin replied, but you carry the bloodline. Zira's heart pounded. So David is dangerous? Not yet, Lin said. But if he loses control, yes. The air grew heavy. Zira didn't know whether to feel curious, scared, or something else, but someone else had heard their conversation. Behind the shadows, a small floating drone watched and recorded everything. It belonged to a secret alien faction on the ship, the Harvesters. The Harvesters wanted the strongest genetics in the galaxy. And now, they knew David was the key, the fertile human male. The Harvester leader whispered in their dark chamber, "We must capture him." Back on the observation deck, David stood up. "I don't want to be a danger," he said. "I just want to live normal." But Zira looked at him with new eyes. "Normal? David, you are not normal. You're something else, and I think the galaxy will soon find out." There was something strange in the air after that day. Zira could feel it. It wasn't just curiosity anymore, it was a sense of danger. She noticed that. David looked different. His skin had a faint warmth. His eyes seemed more focused, more intense. He smiled less now, as if something inside him was moving. Maybe it's just stress, Zira told herself. But deep inside, she knew. Something had started. That night, Zira couldn't sleep again. She decided to sneak back into the ship's library. Even though she knew it was risky. She typed again into the old console. Project Virility, Human Genetic Program. The system tried to block her, but Zira was clever. She bypassed the security layer, and finally, the old files opened. She read silently. Subject males developed enhanced fertility, increased strength, hormonal surges, and involuntary pheromone emissions under emotional stress. Side effect: species around subject may experience uncontrollable attraction or biological reaction. Zira's breath caught. So if David gets stressed, it could activate? She remembered the conversation with Professor Lin, and then she thought of David. He had looked more serious, more worried, more heated. She had to warn him. But before she could leave the library, a soft mechanical voice spoke. Access detected. User identified. Surveillance activated. Zira's eyes widened. She ran back to her room. She wasn't the only one who knew now. The Harvesters were watching. Meanwhile, David was sitting alone in his room. He stared at his hands. They felt stronger. His heartbeat was faster than normal. He didn't understand why. Am I changing? Is that story real? His mind flashed back to his grandfather's stories. Our blood is old, boy, but powerful. Never forget that. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. It was Zira. David. Meet me at the lower deck. Now it's important. David nodded and rushed out. They met near the engine halls, a quiet place where no one went at night. Zira looked worried. David, I checked the files again. Your bloodline. It can wake up when you're stressed, angry, or scared. David frowned. What does that mean? I'll become a monster? Zira shook her head. Not a monster, but your body will change. You'll become stronger, faster, and your pheromones will affect others. Especially aliens like me. David stepped back. You mean I could control minds? Zira looked away. Not minds. But bodies. Instincts. And that's dangerous. David felt cold. He didn't want to be dangerous. But before they could talk more, the air suddenly filled with a soft buzzing sound. Small floating drones surrounded them. Red lights blinked from their eyes. Then a cold, sharp voice echoed. Human male. Come with us. David looked around, fists clenched. Who are you? From the shadows, a tall alien stepped forward. His skin was gray and his eyes like black glass. We are the Harvesters. We collect the finest genetics. And you, human, are rare. Zira stepped in front of David. You can't take him. The Harvesters smiled coldly. We can, and we will. David's heart pounded. His skin grew hot. His breath became heavy. And then it started. His body trembled. A strange heat spread from his chest. His muscles tightened. His eyes glowed faintly. The harvesters paused, sensing the change. Zira looked back and gasped. David ... You're activating. David's voice deepened, as if an old power woke inside him. Stay away from me. One harvester drone flew at him, but David moved too fast to see. With one punch, he smashed the drone into pieces. Everyone froze. David grabbed his head. What's happening to me? Zira reached for him, but the air between them felt heavy, like an invisible force was pushing her back. Her body reacted. Her skin grew warm, her breathing faster. His pheromones. I can feel them, she whispered. The harvester leader smiled darkly. Yes, that's the power we seek. But before they could act, David roared. Nitrogen monoxide 1... takes me. He leapt forward, his strength unstoppable. He broke through the drones, smashing them one by one. The leader tried to run, but David caught him, lifting him off the ground with one hand. You wanted my bloodline? Take a closer look. The alien whimpered in fear. Zira screamed. David, stop, you're losing control. David froze. He looked at his hands, at the shaking alien in his grip, and he dropped him. He fell to his knees, panting. I can't control it... Zira rushed to him and held his shoulders. You can, David. You're still human. David looked up, eyes filled with fear. But for how long? Asterisk. There was silence in the engine halls. The harvesters were gone, either defeated or running in fear. The floor was scattered with broken drones, sparks flickering like tiny stars. But the real storm was inside David. He sat on the cold floor, breathing hard, his body still burning with strange energy. His eyes glowed faintly, fading slowly, but the heat inside his chest remained. What ... am I becoming? He whispered. XY knelt beside him, her hands trembling. She had touched his skin. It felt too warm, too alive, like his body was charging with life itself. She felt her own body reacting, her heart racing, her thoughts blurry. David, she whispered, we need help. I don't think you can stop this alone. David looked at his hands. They shook, not with fear, but with power trying to escape. I'm scared, Zira. I don't want to hurt anyone. But even his voice felt heavier, thicker. He was changing. Suddenly, a cold mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. David Matthews. You are requested to report to the command deck, immediately. It was the ship's Athena. David and Zira looked at each other, both uneasy. Why now? David asked. Zira helped him stand. We have no choice. If Athena is calling you, it's serious. They left the lower decks, unaware that deep in the shadows, one broken drone still recorded, and sent a signal far beyond the ship. The command deck was quiet and dark, except for the giant glowing face of Athena on the central screen. Her face was made of lines and lights, but her voice was sharp. David Matthews, Zira of Velora, you have accessed Forbidden's data. And David? You have activated your bloodline. David clenched his fists. I didn't want this. The harvesters attacked me. I am aware, Athena replied. But the danger is not just them. The danger is you. David looked down. I don't want to be dangerous. Athena's eyes glowed brighter. But you are. Project Virility was shut down because it made human males ... unstable. You are no longer just a human male. You are a potential threat to all species on this ship. Zira stepped forward. That's not fair. He didn't choose this. Fairness is not the issue, Athena replied. Control is. If David loses control, his body will emit waves of pheromones. Some species on board will not be able to resist. They will react ... biologically. Zira's face turned pale. You mean ... like forced attraction? Yes, Athena confirmed. And not just attraction. Aggression, competition, mating instincts, things that can cause chaos in a closed environment like this ship. David shook his head. I'd rather die than become that. Athena stared. That is not necessary. But containment may be. David stepped back, fear in his eyes. You want to lock me up? For the safety of all. Zira grabbed David's arm. There must be another way. He's still human inside. Athena was silent for a moment. There may be one way, but it is dangerous. What way? David asked. You must undergo a mental discipline protocol. A deep simulation to control your mind and body. But be warned, it could kill you if you fail. David looked at Zira. She was scared for him, but she nodded. You have to try, David. Otherwise, you'll always be hunted. David breathed deeply. All right, I'll do it. Athena's eyes dimmed. Very well. But know this, if you fail, I will not hesitate to terminate the threat you become. The coldness of her words chilled the air. As David and Zira left the command deck, Zira whispered, I won't let them hurt you. David gave a weak smile. Thanks. But I'm not sure I can stop myself. But unknown to them, in a secret chamber deep within the ship, the Harvester leader, though injured, watched them through the eyes of his last surviving drone. Let them train him, the alien whispered. Let them make him stronger, then we will take him and use him to conquer the galaxy. The game was no longer just about survival. It was about who controlled the human male with no limits. Somewhere deep inside the Orion Academy ship, hidden far from the eyes of normal students, there was a secret chamber, the surge room. No windows, no sound, only darkness and machines waiting silently. This was where the ship's Athena prepared the mental discipline protocol for David. It was the only way to help him control the wild power waking inside his body. But even Athena wasn't sure if he would survive. David stood before the entrance of the surge room. He wore a simple training suit, but his heart felt heavy. If I fail, I'll lose myself, he whispered. Beside him, Zira placed her hand gently on his arm. You won't fail. I'll be waiting. Just come back. David smiled weakly, then stepped inside. The doors closed behind him with a loud clang. Athena's voice echoed in the darkness. David Matthews, the protocol will begin. You must face your mind, your instincts, your deepest urges. If you lose control, your body will transform fully. Let's start, David said, standing firm. Suddenly, the room filled with bright light, and David felt his mind being pulled like falling into a dream, but deeper and darker. Inside his mind, David woke up in a strange world. The sky was red. The ground was hot. Shadows moved around him, whispering his name. Then he saw them, countless alien females, their eyes glowing, their voices soft but hungry. David. Come to us. You can't resist us. David's heart pounded. His body reacted, heating up. His muscles felt tight, his breath heavy. He tried to look away, but the voices grew louder. We want your strength, your power, given. David screamed and held his head. No, I'm not just a body. Suddenly, the ground cracked open, and a giant figure rose, a version of himself, but bigger, darker, eyes glowing like fire. I am what you're meant to be, the dark David said. A being of strength, desire, and dominance. No, David shouted. I won't become a monster. The dark David laughed. You already are. You just need a little push. The shadow lunged at him, and David fought back, but every hit made him feel more wild, less human. I am human, he screamed, and I choose who I am. But his body betrayed him. Every punch, every struggle made him feel stronger, but also more primal. Meanwhile, outside the surge room, Zira waited. Hours passed. She paced the floor, biting her lip. Then, Athena spoke to her. He is struggling. Can I help? Zira asked desperately. You cannot enter his mind, but you might speak to him. Perhaps your voice can anchor him. A panel opened, and a microphone appeared. Zira grabbed it. David. Listen to me. You're not a beast. You're not a tool. You're my friend, and you're more human than anyone I know. Inside the dream world, David heard the voice soft. Warm. Zira's voice. The dark. David paused. What is that? David smiled through the pain. That's my friend. She believes in me. The dark. David laughed. Pathetic. Friends are weak. But David stood up, fists clenched. Then I'll be weak, but I'll be human. With one final roar, he punched the dark figure with everything he had. The shadow shattered into light, fading away. The world around him broke apart, and David fell into a white light. In a real world, alarms rang inside the surge room. David's body convulsed, his heartbeat racing dangerously. David, wake up! Zira cried. Then with a gasp, David's eyes shot open. His breathing was heavy, but the glow in his eyes was gone. He was himself. Athena's voice spoke. Protocol complete. Subject has passed. Zira rushed inside as the doors opened. She knelt beside David, holding his hand. You did it. David smiled weakly. I heard you. Thank you. Athena's face appeared on the wall screen. The bloodline is still inside you, but now you have control. However, others will come for you. David sat up slowly. Let them come. I'll be ready. Far across the galaxy, the Harvester leader received the last data from his spy drone. He smiled darkly. He's stronger now. Perfect. Soon. We'll claim him. The game was not over. Asterisk. In the dark corners of the galaxy, not all wars are fought with weapons. Some wars are fought in shadows. With secrets. The Harvesters were done waiting, on their hidden ship, floating just outside the Orion Academy's sensor range. The Harvester leader stood before his soldiers, tall, gray-skinned aliens with cold, black eyes. He raised his hand. The fertile human male is ready. His power is awake, and now. We will take him. The soldiers hissed in agreement. They had a plan. They would invade the academy, not with armies, but with a stealth strike team, designed to move silently, unseen, unstoppable. They didn't want to destroy the human. They wanted to possess him. Back on Orion Academy, David was recovering. He sat in the medical bay, with Zira sitting close, watching over him. His body still felt different, like fire resting just under his skin. But this time, it was under his control. I feel alive, but also heavy, David whispered. I smiled. You're stronger now, but still you. David looked at her, his voice soft. Thank you, Zira. Without your voice, I would have lost myself. Before she could answer, the ship suddenly shuddered, the lights flickered, then the alarm echoed. Alert! Unauthorized lifeforms detected on Deck 5. David and Zira looked at each other. It's them, David said, standing quickly. Zira's eyes widened. The Harvesters? They're here. Elsewhere on Deck 5, shadows moved swiftly. The Harvester strike team, dressed in cloaking suits, passed through corridors silently, disabling cameras, avoiding patrols. Their mission was simple: find the human male and extract him alive. But one of the ship's sensors caught a faint energy signature, something no alien gave off. Athena, the ship AI, detected it. Unseen enemies detected. Activating defense measures. Mechanical security drones woke up, scanning the halls. But the Harvesters were ready. They carried EMP blades, slicing through drones without sound. One Harvester scout whispered into his comms. Security neutralized. Approaching target. David, with Zira by his side, ran towards Deck 5. You don't have to come, David said. I do, Zira replied firmly. I'm not leaving you. They reached the hallway when suddenly A shadow dropped from above. A harvester appeared, cloaked, but his outline shimmered in the light. Target acquired, the alien hissed. David's body heated instantly. His heart raced, but he stayed in control. You want me? Come and get me. The harvester lunged forward, but David moved faster. His reflexes now sharpened by his. Awakening allowed him to grab the alien midair and slam him into the wall. Another harvester appeared, stabbing at David, but the blade only grazed his arm. David growled, but his control held. I'm not your weapon. He punched, the impact throwing the alien across the hall. But more shadows emerged. 3, 4, 5 of them. Zira stood back, scared but refusing to run. David, there's too many. David's skin glowed faintly, heat rising, but his mind stayed clear. I'll protect you. Suddenly, Athena's voice echoed. Stand clear. Defense drones incoming. Heavy drones flew in, firing stun beams at the harvesters. The aliens dodged, fighting back with sharp energy blades. One drone exploded, sending sparks everywhere. David knew he couldn't fight them all. But then Zira stepped forward. She grabbed a fallen drone's weapon and fired wildly, forcing the harvesters back. You're not taking him. She screamed. The harvesters regrouped. Their leader stepped into the light, his black eyes shining. You're impressive, human. But soon, your body will crave what we offer, power without limits. David's fists clenched. I don't want power. I want my choice. But the leader smirked. We'll see when the next surge comes. With a sharp signal, the harvesters retreated, vanishing into smoke. Athena's voice filled the air. Intruders repelled, but they will return. David looked at Zira, both breathing hard. They'll never stop. Then we won't stop either, Zira said, eyes determined. We'll fight together. But deep inside, David felt it. The power. It was rising again. Slowly, quietly, waiting for the next trigger. And far away, the harvester leader smiled. Next time, human. You will surge, and then you will be ours. Deep in space, stars burned silently. But something darker moved between them. The harvesters were returning. Their leader stood at the edge of their ship's command deck, watching the Orion Academy from a distance. The next surge is coming. The human male will not resist it forever. When his instincts rise, not even his mind will save him. His soldiers prepared this time, not for capture, but for total control. Inside Orion Academy, David sat alone in his quarters. His body felt like it was vibrating softly, like a low hum inside his bones. No matter how much he tried to stay calm, he knew the truth. It's getting stronger. I can feel something inside me waking up. He looked at his reflection in the mirror. His eyes flickered gold for a second, before fading back. Suddenly, Zira burst into his room. David, the harvesters. They're back. Athena detected their fleet. David stood immediately. Then it's time. Time for what? Zira asked. David breathed deep, his heart steady. Time I stop running from this power. But you said, I was scared, David admitted. But if I don't use this, I can't protect anyone. Zira grabbed his hand. Then I'll be with you. We'll face them together, David smiled. No, this time, I face them alone. Zira's eyes watered, but she nodded. Promise me you'll come back. David held her hand tightly. I promise. David walked to the center of the ship, the combat bay, where shields and weapons were prepared. Athena's voice echoed. David Matthews, the harvesters will board soon. Are you sure? I'm sure. Athena paused. Then, I have unlocked your final protocol. The last limit on your genetics. Removed. David felt a sudden rush inside his veins. His skin burned, his muscles tightened not painfully, but powerfully. What? Did you do? He asked. I gave you full access to your potential, but be warned, once unleashed, your instincts may overtake your mind. David's heart raced, but he smiled. Then I'll fight my instincts too. The harvesters stormed the ship, this time in full force. Troops poured into the combat bay. The leader stepped forward. We meet again, human. This time no one saves you. David stepped forward, his eyes glowing gold. I don't need saving. Suddenly, his body ignited not with fire, but with light. His skin shimmered with energy, his eyes like burning stars. The harvesters hesitated. They could feel the power. David moved. In 1 second. He crossed the hall, his punch shattered the ground. Beneath the leader, sending a shockwave that knocked aliens off their feet. He's fully awakened. A harvester screamed. They attacked, but David was faster than thought. Every move he made was precise, powerful, unstoppable. But then he felt it. A burning in his mind. His heart raced faster, his breathing deepened. His vision blurred. No. Not now. He whispered. The surge was pushing him to lose control. Suddenly, he heard a voice. Not Athena's, not the harvesters. It was Zyra through the comlink in his ear. David. Remember who you are. You're not just power. You're more. Her words calmed his mind. His hands shook. But he focused. I'm human, he whispered. I choose who I am. His body stabilized. The glow remained, but his eyes turned clear. David stood tall, surrounded by defeated harvesters. Leader crawled back, terrified. You. You control it? David stepped closer. I do. And you'll never have me. With a final blow, he knocked the leader unconscious. The battle was over. Later, as the ship cleared the intruders, Zyra ran to the combat bay. She saw David standing, the glow around him fading. She rushed to him and hugged him tightly. You did it, she said, her voice shaking. We did it, David replied. Your voice kept me human. Athena's voice echoed. The threat is neutralized. But the power in you remains, David. The galaxy will still come for you. David smiled. Let them come. I know who I am now. Zyra looked up at him. What will you do? David looked at the stars beyond the ship's window. I'll live. I'll fight. But on my terms. Somewhere out there, others would hear of the human male with no limits. But now, he wasn't just a force of nature. He was a human.